Anthony Melchiori, I'm looking forward to today. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're getting rid of the hoteliers. We're going to be talking to someone who stays in hotels.
Ooh, Louis Lombardi. I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Lives. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey, everybody. Anthony Melchiori over there. I'm Glenn Hausman. You are watching No Vacancy Live. Anthony, really fun. I'm looking forward to doing something a little bit different today. I love talking to people about the hotel business, but it's time we kind of shake it up and get it from the other side, don't you think?
Well, yeah, absolutely. He's Louis Lombardi is an actor. He's been in Hollywood for a long time. You've seen him. You know his face. If you've watched The Sopranos, if you watched 24, if you watched a movie or a TV show in the last 30 years, you know who he is. I've got to meet him through my friend who's in Hollywood, Leo Rossi. He invited me to a set in Brooklyn. He was doing a show called Gravesend, where Louis Lombardi is a producer and also an actor. And so as soon as I met him, I told him I follow him on Instagram. I love he does a Instagram with his daughter about cooking.
Yep.
And it's about bringing the family back to the table. And he was impressed that I knew that I knew his Instagram and I knew that was his saying.
Right.
And me and him, so Leo went to sleep because he had a shoot in the morning. And I said to Louis, I'll tell you a story when he comes on, but it's a pretty funny story. And all we have to do, Louis is very shy.
Right.
So you have to pull him
Listen,
out.
I just met him backstage. Getting him to open up is going to be very difficult.
Yeah. He's used to reading the script. So
Right.
he doesn't really have a personality. So it's going to be
Don't
tough.
worry. I got him the script. It's 120 pages of beauty for today. So it's going to be great. But before we get into our great interview with Louis Lombardi, I just want to say, hey, everybody, I know you're thinking about investing in hotels. Right now is the time to do it. One brand I would totally recommend is Radisson Red. This is an upcoming brand. We featured them. The Miami Hotel is great. The Minneapolis Hotel is great. And it really reflects the way that people are traveling today. Go check that out. Go to RadsonHotelsAmericas.com/EN-US/development. Talk to Phil Yu. Let him get you a good deal. Anthony, you ready for this interview?
My friend, I was born ready.
All right. Welcome to the show, Louis Lombardi.
Hey, what's up there, gentlemen?
And
What's up, Louis?
is California. How are you, man?
Good. How we doing today?
This is great. It's freaking awesome to meet you. So I was researching you just a little bit because you're one of those guys that, you know who he is, right? I know your face, and I had to get a little bit on the specifics. I'm looking at a still of you in Natural Born Killers with Woody Harrelson and Robert Downey Jr. That is so cool.
Well, that's kind of funny. That was I did a film in Long Island, actually, called Amongst Friends, right? And the film took 2 years to make, and it ended up going to Sundance. And we drove to Sundance, and my first movie out of Hollywood was Natural Born Killers. After I left Sundance, I was a young kid from the Bronx. I drove to L.A. with Mira Sorvino. I drove back to L.A. and I met Oliver Stone. And the first guy I met in Hollywood, he put me in his first movie, and boom, it was Natural Born Killers.
Wow, how heady is that, man? That must have really flipped you out.
Well, the best part is I did this movie in Long Island called Amongst Friends, right? It was this independent gangster film. This guy, Rob Weiss, did it. He's from the Five Towns. The film was a little independent film. This way you never know what you're doing. You just do it. And if it works, it works, and it'll work big. So I did this independent film. 2 years later, the film goes to Sundance. It wasn't Sundance what it is today. It was a film festival. Really, a lot of great filmmakers came out of it. We drove from the Bronx to L.A., from L.A. to Utah in a tiny little car with Mira Sorvino. Film got a lot of hype there. So as growing up in the Bronx, this is the ironic part. Growing up in the Bronx, Oliver Stone was my film hero. That's the guy I wanted to be like.
No doubt.
Not Coppola. So I do this. So I'm like, wow, look at this. The first person I meet in Hollywood is in a week is Oliver Stone. It's almost amazing. And the first guy who puts me in his movie is Oliver Stone, which started my career.
Insane.
And it was a guy that I idolized. I was like, I want to be like Oliver Stone. I met him, and it was almost like so unbelievably surreal, you know, and it was that's how it started.
What's important to me, as everyone who knows me knows, is telling that people coming up in the business, whether it be your business or my business or Glenn's business, is that hard work pays off, and it's show up, shut up, and do your job. And when people look at you, and you can name drop to the cows come home because you have all these people on speed dial. All these people are your real friends. You're really in Hollywood. I know you're working on something, or you've worked on something and continue to work on something with The Rock. I mean, you know everyone. Everyone knows you. It's no secret. However, when people see you on TV, when people hear you speak, when people see you in interviews, all they get is, oh my God, how lucky he is. And he's a Hollywood guy. And oh my God, I wish I could be him. Now, so I want to go all the way back, okay, to your beginnings. And because when you told me the story when we met, when I was driving you through Coney Island, because you're the only person I know from New York that's never been to Coney Island. So late at night, I took him through Coney Island. And
trying to get me killed, Anthony. You're trying to get me killed out there.
Then we went to my favorite restaurant, which I'm actually going to right after this because I'm doing a video over there. But anyway, I want people to hear how you put yourself in a position to be on an Oliver Stone set, to be at Sundance, how you did that, because your background and your family's background is not from Hollywood. You didn't grow up with a silver spoon. You grew up running the streets. So you graduated, at that very, high level of school. Tell people what grade you graduated, and then tell them how you got your experience to act. Go.
Well, this is why, a lot of kids come up to me and go, well, I'm going to 20 years of acting school. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm doing this. And I look at them and I go, what the biggest key is, I'm just going to say Hollywood, but in life, it's persistence. You never stop, and eventually something will happen. That's just reality, right? But when you keep walking and you say it's too far and you're about to make that left, that's where your success was about to be. But you stopped and made a U-turn. And that's the majority of most people. They don't want to keep going. So it's easier to stop, right? Let me give you an example. It's easier for you to do nothing on your couch than it is to go out and grind every day, right? Or to run a business or to be an actor. So what do people do? In their comfort zone, they stay doing nothing because it's easier.
But go back to what year of school did you graduate?
I don't even remember. I went to 5th or 6th grade, but
right. The reason I want to say that is because you left school early at a very early age.
Yeah.
You were doing things, you were running the streets. And then I'm very interested in how you became an actor and where you went to acting school initially. Where did you go to acting school? Tell that story.
Yeah. Well, growing up in the Bronx, nobody ever went to school or nobody really had jobs. So all we did was hustle. All our families and all our friends were in jail. Believe it or not, my grandfather did 30 straight years. All my friends, 25 straight years. So growing up where we grew up, nobody went to school. It was all about hustling. And it wasn't because we wanted to. It was almost out of necessity. We grew up in a world where no one was doctors or lawyers. So you follow what you know. And we followed the streets, which was all we knew. Yeah, so as a young kid, I always wanted to be an actor. I could show you headshots when I was 13, 14. You're like, no way, right? So I would go, how do I get into this business? So what I did was I didn't want to go to acting school because I was never really a school person. I couldn't sit in a classroom. And I never really, had the money to go to film school, like NYU, which is $50,000 a year back then. So what I did was I would audition as a kid for NYU films. I would send my pictures and resumes out at 13, 14, 15. I would send 50 pictures a week out. Even if the description didn't fit me, I would just send pictures. And fortunately, that's how I got that film Amongst Friends. Years later, when I was 19, 20, I got this independent film. And it ended up changing my life. But in the early stages, I would just, grind.
How many films were you in for NYU school?
I would say 15, 20. But what happened was, and like you were saying earlier, like the personality thing, that's my biggest acting school. I didn't go to acting school. I didn't go to film school. What I did was I auditioned for NYU films as an actor, learned how to act for free. Then I learned how to make movies at NYU for free. I did 10,
Right.
15, 20 of them. So I would tell kids, like, they would go, I don't have money to go to NYU. Neither do I. I don't have an education or money, and I still made it happen. So, kids would look at me in the Bronx and go, what is this? I would bring my NYU tapes back, right? All proud.
Right.
Look at my film. They'd be like, what is this? What are you, a jerk? This is so stupid. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? It's a movie. I'm doing NYU films. So what I basically did was I taught myself how to act, and I taught myself how to make movies. So the $50,000 a year education was free to me because I observed, I learned, and I listened. And I was persistent because I did it for 10 years, NYU films. And people be like, you getting paid for that? No. You get paid for anything you do early on. You grind until you do get paid. And let
you're
me
still
tell you,
grinding.
What, bud?
And you're still grinding.
Yes. You'll always grind. No
Always.
matter what you do. If you're a business owner, if you're an entertainer, you will grind till you die. Unless your daddy leaves you $100 million and you don't have to grind anymore.
Right. I mean, I'm totally obsessed. What's going to happen next year right now?
Right.
We just don't know.
Anthony's going to leave me in his will, and I'm going to be set in a few years.
Nice. Too bad he was going to. Well, he still did, but we went to dinner last week, and he's got nothing left.
You know what, Louis? I think what you represent for me, growing up in Brooklyn, you grew up in the Bronx, growing up, kind of grinding. We've had strong people in our lives, whether it be our moms or people that we saw. But really, who we are is we're a weed that grows through concrete, right?
Right.
Is like, I don't know any other way to do. Like, I'm about to do something I'm actually thinking about challenging myself on something that would be pretty crazy to do, but I think I'm going to do it. But
You already worked with me on it.
I'll talk about that one day if it's successful. But my point being, I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of people seeing people like you. And I'll give you an example. And thinking it was easy. When I met you at Spamoni Gardens that I've been going to since I'm a kid. It's a very special place because the last place I had dinner with my best friend who's passed away. It's everybody in Brooklyn knows Spamoni Gardens. And when people see you, it's Spamoni Gardens. It's like, holy shit, look who's here. So when I met Leo, when I met Leo there, I was like, I saw you, you're sitting at a table and I didn't want to bother you. And you were about to do a scene with a couple other actors. And I waited for my moment to see you. And I, as a person that, people know my face, and I always wonder why people are so afraid to approach me. I was a little intimidated to approach you. And I actually prepared myself because I didn't know if you thought I was going to be a dick. And I said to myself, well, you follow him on Instagram, just mention Instagram. And the second I mentioned it, you hugged me, I hugged you, we were best friends because you're a real person. And then you and I spent 4 or 5 hours talking, drinking, and eating. And we've been best friends for the last, month? So, and you're a guy that may be on a set with The Rock tomorrow. You may be, you may win the Academy Award next year. You're a guy that has a lot of access. But the reason I'm telling you this story is you're prepared. So talk to me about when you're doing a show, whether it be, the show you do with Rock or Gravesend or whatever. What's your process to get ready the second they call action? Bring us through the whole process because I find it fascinating. Go.
You see, I have a different approach than
I know your approach. Talk about it.
I have a different approach towards many actors. It's more like what I kind of do is I make it fun. When it becomes too serious, I don't really, I like to have fun and make it normal and not be stressful when I get to sets. I'm definitely prepared because I know my stuff every second. That's the biggest thing is if you prepare, then you can handle your business.
So talk about that because we're going to talk about the set in a second. But talk about how you get a script. It's 20 pages. You have to remember 20 pages. Right. What is your process for remembering those pages? Because when you're on set, it looks like you're not prepared because you're having so much fun. So I want to know that.
Well, when I'm home, I'm working on my stuff. And what I do is I do short. If it's 20 pages, I do 2-3 pages at a time. That's the easiest way to memorize stuff. Short term. You do little bit, and then you do 15 minutes rehearsing, stop for 20 minutes. And this is the way I've been doing it my whole life. I do it on a recorder on my phone. I'll run the other lines and I'll just keep running it while I'm watching a game. And the biggest thing I learned for actors, I've been saying this to them forever. You could be in an acting class. You could be in a room by yourself. You can cry all you want. But guess what? Right? Guess what? You're not in a room full of 100 people, which is a real set. You know, and I know. You get on a set, there's 100 people, makeup, hair, wardrobe, everybody pulling you, tucking you in like action. It's focus. Focus is your acting school. That's it. If you can focus, you can be an actor. So many people think, like I said, you're in a classroom, you're not being bothered by 30 people. But when the process of hurry up, makeup, hair, wardrobe, don't lean back, camera guy, writer, director, giving you a million things to process within a second, then they yell action.
That is, that is fascinating, because when I was on set and doing the things that I was doing, it's like they go, okay, go. And I'm like, the first time I was on the show, I was like, what do you mean go? It's like, go, you know how to run hotels. I was like, holy shit. So that's you just broke it down for me and hopefully for everyone else. When you're on set, you look like you don't have a care in the world. And I would be like, fire that guy, because that guy's just joking around. He's not prepared. And as soon as they go action, holy shit, and I've noticed that because no one cares if you're prepared or not. They're going to know if you're prepared when you open your mouth. Because the director doesn't go, hey, Louis, did you learn your lines? Hey, Louis, are you ready to go? Hey, Louis, do you feel it? They're going to be like, Louis, action. And if you fail, they're going to, Louis, you're fired.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's super expensive, Louis, every single minute that you're on
That's another
set.
point.
That's right. And that's why in a lot of the shows you'll see, like Sopranos, 24, I went on to do one episode, and I ended up doing 48 episode of 24, and 13 of Sopranos, because
it's amazing.
I was supposed to do one episode, but I show up, like Anthony said, 100 miles an hour prepared. I may fuck around. I mean, when I wrote and directed my movie in the Bronx, I put up a sign, and somebody just posted a comment, McManus guy. I put up a sign in my trailer. And when actors would come in, I don't mind if we were eating, having fun, but I had a sign. I would write, know your lines, hit your marks, and shut the fuck up. That was my sign. And I would tell actors, we can eat and have fun and make all the fun all day, right? But know your shit. When I get to that, when I get to that set, everybody better know their shit. Where you're supposed to stand, where you are. And then we'll have the best time making the project. You know what I'm saying? But initially, as an actor, like, again, I worked on a lot of these shows, and the good thing is, I would show up so prepared, even though, like Anthony said, I would be having fun and laugh, but that's my way of acting.
Right.
Let's make it fun. Let's take the pressure off, and then you start throwing touchdowns.
Let's break it down. Let's break it down. This is this is kind of an acting class or leadership class or how to get a job class. Break it down. You left school early, 5th or 6th grade. You went to NYU for free because you got yourself in there. You were persistent. You finally got on a set. You became successful. Everybody loves being around you. Everybody knows whether you're working in, IBM or you're working anywhere. People want to be around fun people that make it light. But you do something that people forget about. Louis the fun guy. Louis the guy that likes to eat, likes to drink, likes to break balls. But Louis the guy, when he goes action, he's 100% prepared because he's done the work. That is what I want people to get from you. I want people to understand that, yes, you have a great gig, and yes, you're a very fortunate human being. But the reason you're fortunate is because no one gave you anything.
Never. And even when you did get stuff, people knocked it because people are afraid to do stuff. So again, just like I said, it's easy to do nothing. It's easy to knock someone and not do what they're doing because you're envious. And that's what you really want to do, but most people won't take a shot. Like I said, I've been grinding since I'm 13. Hollywood especially, you never stop grinding. You see me, Anthony. I'm still pumping stuff. You see, I'm still trying to hustle stuff. People go, "Oh, you're successful. You don't have to do that." No, absolutely not. The more successful you get, the more you got to grind.
So when I say to students, I'm doing a commencement speech last week, and I'm going to say this: no one cares. What does that mean to you?
That means no one cares, and that's 100% true. That means no matter how many legs you go to lean on and how many shoulders you go to cry on, no one cares. Number one is everyone has their own problems. Number two, no one cares if you have problems. They kind of like it because if they're envious of what you do, they want to see you stumble. They want to see you fall. Because you know what they say? I told you so, the finger wagging, correct? I never listened to anyone growing up. Never. I may be a stubborn Italian from the Bronx, but it paid off for my life. Everybody told me, what are you doing? What are you being an actor? What do you want to be an actor? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And the crazy as this may seem, the majority of the people that told me I'm crazy to be an actor ended up doing 25 years in prison because they stood on the streets. And I had an ambition. I had a goal. I had a drive. I always saw that doing it. People go, when did you start acting? When did you get your lucky break? I go, my lucky break has been going for 40 years with lucky break. You know, they have this illusion that you walked in and so is like, hey, I'm going to put you in my next 20 movies and you're going to be rich and I'm living in a mansion. Everybody, I call it the illusion and the disillusion of Hollywood. The illusion is everybody's rich. Every actor's so rich. Everybody's walking around with rose petals on their shoes. It's the illusion. The disillusion is the grind, the rejection, year after year, never getting a job. It ain't about working on the set. It's about getting the job.
And even now, at your level, people sometimes, I would imagine, offer you a job and say, could you work for free?
Right.
Majority still. I mean,
hey, it sounds like you're in hospitality sales.
Sounds like I work for Anthony. What the hell? But the problem is everyone thinks what you do is easy, correct? You must get that too. I could do that. And you know what I used to tell people? Go do it. Go do it. And then years later, I'll get a message going, hey, bro, can you help me out? Can you get me an agent? I go, no, I'm not like, I can hardly do myself, but people have that illusion and disillusion of what Hollywood is. And when I break it down to kids and younger people in the business of what the disillusion is, they go, oh, wow, that's negative. No, it's not negative. That's the reality side of the business. You see you shooting a scene. You don't see the 4 years of getting that role, of grinding every day, being told no. You tell me no, I tell you yes. I make it happen. I don't listen to people. That was what I was saying earlier. My mother said, go work construction. I said, you go work construction. My friends would say, what is being an actor? Well, you go do what you do. They all ended up in prison. I ended up having an extremely lucky, great, fortunate career. I've worked with the biggest people. I've worked with the best people. I've learned so much. And I've never listened, though, because once you're in people get in your mind, that's it. You're done. You second guess every move, right? Yeah. But if you stay on your path and you believe in your focus, you will win. Persistent. 45 years I've been doing this. You know, that's a long time. I show you headshots at 12 years old. You'll be like, no way. People go, you've been doing it that long? I go, yes. And the reason I have those headshots in my phone is to show people this didn't happen last night. This has been happening for 40 years. Here's my pictures. And they go, oh, wow. I think that they think like your uncle put you in and your uncle did this and your cousin's a movie guy. Nobody. I knew no one. I drove to Hollywood with $5,000 and a car. And my whole life turned into 25 years of working with the biggest celebrities, the biggest people. And again, I'm one of these people that were brought up where I was always fortunate, where I was always not somebody, but I was always somebody, where I was never like, oh, thanks, I can walk into a restaurant. I've always had that access and that access to go into hotels and restaurants all before I was an actor. You know, I had a great life before, knock on wood. So when I became an actor, most people use their celebrity as an identity. Oh my God, I'm an actor, so I can tell my identity's always been Louis Lombardi. So I never took that advantage of going, I'm an actor, I could be someone. I always was someone in my mind and in my life. You know, I was always a liked person. I was always welcomed everywhere, even before I was an actor, you know. So my personality never changed. Like most people who grew up in a town where they never had success or they never had identity, they create that actor as an identity, and they kind of bully people because it's out of insecurity. It's not because they're mean, but a lot of people are very insecure, and they see a person they get intimidated by, the insecurity pops out, and they become mean, rude, or quiet, or bitter. That's just people, you know, no matter what business you're in. But I learned the acting business, you're in a competition. You're always going up against your buddy, your best friend. So it's constantly causing a divide. That's the problem with Hollywood. If you start out with your buddies, majority, if your buddies kind of, Louis is shy. Thanks, Colleen. I'm reading your comment right there. I'm great. Thank you. But that's the reality of what it is. You know, the competition is you and your friends. So you start to lose friends as you climb. and it becomes an envious thing. It's not a negative thing. It's the nature of the beast, right? People become envious. They see a nice car. Everybody wants what the next person has, and I've learned that. And see, the reason I think I've become successful because that's not my mentality. I don't care. I made 2 movies. I put every single one of my friends in both, and they were 10 years apart. I put people in my projects. I want to be around my friends. Like Anthony said, I want to show up. I want to laugh. I want to eat, but I want to kick ass. I want to be the Tom Brady. I want to win every play. I want to win every fucking. You can't. Once you say you can't do it, I'm going to show you I can, and I will steamroll through you. But I use everything as a sports analogy. Let's throw touchdowns. If you want first downs, get off my team. If you don't want to win every single play, not every game, get off my team. I want to win the play.
So, Louis, I guess what we're really talking about here is the notion of grit. And I think this is something that has been bothering me about society. I don't think we have enough of that these days. People don't have that stick-to-itiveness. And I think some of it has to come with a focus on an instant gratification society created by the internet and the speeding up and all of that kind of stuff, right? So I think younger people were raised in a very different environment than kind of where we were. So grit has become more of an issue. What do you think it was about you and perhaps Anthony that made you, as he said, growth, be the weeds that grow through the cement, that you were so different than everybody else? How were you fundamentally able to stick to it and not get beaten down by your situation in life and see the future, visualize it, and then make it happen when so many people can't do what you've managed to accomplish?
Well, growing up in our neighborhoods, me and Anthony, I can speak for myself. I grew up in an environment where it was literally sink or swim. And I'm not saying that like it's either you do something or you sink in jail.
Right.
That's reality.
Or you get shot on the street.
Right.
What, Amp?
Or you get shot on the street.
You get shot on the street, or you end up fucking doing 20 years in prison. So there was no rainbow. It was grind, grind, grind. I was lucky enough to find something that I loved since I'm 5, 7 years old, which was acting. So, when you're on the streets and you have to fight every single day, and here's your rainbow is a passion you have to go get that rainbow. You have no choice but to stop. You have no option. There's no outlet. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming and go, oh my God, Louis wants to be an actor here. If you don't fight. So what happened was that street mentality that I've had since I'm 12 bred me for Hollywood, which was the best thing that ever happened with my street life. Because Hollywood is worse than the streets, believe it or not. It's worse than the streets in every way. All right, you might not get 50 years in prison, but you're going to deal with a lot of the shit that you deal with in the streets in Hollywood. So being a kid who was so in tune with the streets, like I was the streets. I'm not saying that in a positive way, but I was the streets because that's all I knew. So it built up a tolerance of not listening to people, of being so strong-minded that no one could break you. That's the way my street was. You can't break me. You could do this. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back. And when I left for Hollywood, I found that mindset could never be broken. Worked for me in my career because I lived in a house with Strasbourg actors. I don't know if you know what Strasbourg is. And they would look at me and go, this kid from the Bronx has no education. Ha, ha, ha. Look at my scripts under my arm with my ascot on. And I look at these guys and I'd be like, yo, dude, let's see who's where in 5 years. And they would go on auditions, get rejected, and come home. And they would be guys, and most of them were from Long Island. No offense. But the house I lived in had 4 guys from Long Island. And they were Strasbourg College graduates, and they would get coffee with this. And they were so playing the role of being an actor than being an actor. And they would hate me. They would go, man, you don't even study really. You go, you kill these auditions. I go, because I don't take it as serious. I make it fun.
That's absolutely right. Louis, that's a great lesson in life. And it's something that I've learned over the last couple of years. And I know Anthony learned this early on is don't take any of that personally, because as you said, people don't care. It's not about any of that. It's about how you feel yourself getting into the zone. And if it doesn't work out, moving on to that.
But Louis, the word that comes to mind, first I want to back up. I want to say, I was very fortunate because I had a strong mom and she really kept us out of trouble, right? She did what she had to do to make a living, but she was very strong. We always had a clean house. We always had clean clothes. And so I was very fortunate. I wasn't worrying about getting shot in the streets, but a lot of people, in Brooklyn in the 70s and 80s, it was dangerous. But I was very fortunate to have a strong mother that kept me out of trouble. But one of the things that has, if anything's made me successful, and I'm sure Glenn's true, but it really underlines and is bold. You in Hollywood is like, it just doesn't make sense because you are as authentic as a human being as there is. So the word authentic is why those people in your house didn't get as far as you did, because you're authentic. And when you're authentic and prepared, that's dangerous. I didn't do 8 years. And again, I'm really glad you're on, because Hollywood is not what everybody thinks it is. In the streets, like if I square up on you, I know what I'm squaring up on.
Right.
You're a tough guy, I'm a tough guy, and we're going to go to war.
Right.
And again, I never really was in the streets, so I don't want to act like I was. But what I'm saying, even playground, when I'm squaring up on somebody, if you're going to try to kick my ass, I'm going to kick your ass. In Hollywood, they're all smile. They'll all tell you what you want to hear, and they'll say, "Don't give that guy a job, blackball him, blacklist him, whatever it is." My preparation and my tenacity and my authenticity is the reason.
That's right.
I had my shows and my movie and doing the things I'm doing now, not because I thought about wanting to do it. I did it, and that's what you have. When you're acting, of course, the director needs you to act that role. I mean, when you played in 24, I went back and watched it after I met you because I never really watched it. And that is such a separation of who you are because you're an actor. But that's your craft. But as a human being, people want to be around authentic people. When you're done and the director's being an asshole, you're probably a guy that's going to ignore the director and not feel bad that, oh my God, why is he being so mean? And why is he being this? And why is he
no. Yeah, right.
You're just going to be, hey, let him do him. I'm going to do me. Whereas other people, it would get in their mind.
That's right.
Give me an example. Give me an example. You don't have to name the actor. Don't name the actor or actress where you saw them kind of just spin because of maybe a director or because they felt, they weren't being respected.
Well, that's one of the things I tell young actors. It's called the downward spiral. It's so fun to say this. And it's like when you're on a set, there's 100 people. So when actors get on a set and they mess up their lines, a lot of actors will go in I call it the downward spiral, where they start to panic. They start to get nervous and they can't remember now because the pressure. And sometimes you have a director who will be like, come on, no, or people. And that is the worst thing you can do. The downward spiral is absolutely the worst thing you could do. So what I try to do is, again, I don't pay much mind to many people, to be honest with you. I kind of march to the beat of my drum. I'm an extreme team player, but when it comes to that kind of scenario, and you have somebody being belligerent to people that are having a hard time, that's not a team player. That's an individual who's trying to achieve his own goal by getting the actor to do it. A team player stops, rehuddles, takes a timeout, thinks about it, and then moves on. You got to remember, you have 100 people looking at you, so people start to get nervous. And I've seen people do it so many times. I can't even say one. I've seen it happen to a lot of actors, not bigger actors, because they're in control of the set, so they don't really care. But a lot of the middle actors will start doing the downward spiral. And I would tell people, stop. Don't go. Let me do it again. Don't try to play catch up. Stop. Call a timeout. Go in your corner. Breathe. Focus on what you need to do. And then go out and take over. And if you can't, then you have a problem with your own self, because it is a business. If you stop for 2 hours and you cause $50,000 worth of damages on the set, meaning you well-held up set, you're liable in my eyes. That's why I think I've gotten hired so much, because I would show up so prepared, like The Sopranos. Me and Vinny Pastore, I would go to his house. I know Vinny since I'm 13. I end up getting on The Sopranos with him 20 years later, which turned out to be a blessing, because I would go to his house every day. We would hang out. We would run our lines. We would drive to the set, because he lived in the Bronx as well. We would drive to the set. We would rehearse on the way to the set. We'd get to the set. Boom, one take, we were done. So David Chase started going, wow, you guys are great. But we did a lot of rehearsal.
But let's go back. When you knew him back when you were 13, you didn't get the job because he was there. You haphazardly just happened to be working with him. So I want people to know you didn't call him up and say, "Hey, can I get on the show?"
Oh, no, not at all. He didn't even know I was on the show. What happened was I did a movie called Suicide Kings that Georgianne Walken helped. Her husband Christopher Walken was in it, and I ended up doing this movie for nothing. Did for nothing, and I ended up doing a job where they added me in the whole movie from one night of shooting.
Wow.
So I did like 8 scenes of improvising. Yeah, so she saw me in this movie. And she was like, "Louis, I love you. I'm doing a show." This is before the first season, before Sopranos was even cast. She called me and said, "I want you to come in for the show. I love you." And Suicide King. I went in for the show and I read for the big pussy role. And then about a month later, I got another show called Fantasy Island, the remake with Malcolm McDowell. So I got to go live in Hawaii for a year. And that pulled me out of being on the first season of Sopranos. So when I left, I was like, all right, I can't do this show, The Sopranos, but it was a pilot. It wasn't like a show. I was auditioning like everyone else was. So I left for Hawaii. I'm gone for a year. And I do the show with Malcolm McDowell for a year. Show gets canceled in Hawaii. I'm like, wow, I'm living in Hawaii. I'm 30 years old. I'm making a ton of money. This is terrible. It's like the worst thing. You get fired from a show. Show's being canceled. Turns out, I go to New York to visit my mom right after that gets canceled. And Georgianne goes, "Is Louis here?" Now, this is season 2 of Sopranos. This is season 2, and they're just about to kick off the cast. I'm like in New York visiting my mom. I'm on the show the next day. I go in. They're like, "Louis in New York, have him come up." I go up. Who's there? Gandolfini. He's like, "I'm reading with you." I was like, oh, my God. And I knew Gandolfini way before Sopranos. The nicest man you've ever been around. Nicest, most genuine friend you've ever been around. So I go, "Okay, Jimmy." I read with him one scene. It was like 4 scenes. He's like, "Okay, you're done." I was like, oh, my God, this is terrible. I'm getting booted out of the room. Turns out I go down to my car. I get a phone call. "You're hired." Within 10 minutes, they hired. Wow. I was like, holy shit. They're like, "You're going to do an episode. We're going to say you work with Big Pussy. If we like you," the rest is history. Put it that way. They liked me enough to put me on the whole storyline of The Sopranos, busting Big Pussy. So
and you played FBI agent.
So that's funny because all my friends are criminals. So I would get going from the prison system, right? My grandfather and all my friends going, "Oh my God, you're the cop!" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the FBI guy."
That's awesome. Well, now you got me thinking. Now you got me thinking about Fantasy Island and how in that particular version of the series, they really amped up the irony factor. If you asked for something, they screwed you pretty good for asking for that fantasy.
Right. Well, Fantasy Island was actually a fun show until it started bombing. You know, we had a great time. But again, so I went from Fantasy Island, was kind of it was lucky I went to New York to visit my mom. I ended up getting The Sopranos. But then you do work, right? And I'm reading her thing.
Yeah, you try talking over Louis, Colleen. You come here,
Colleen.
and you try it.
So it's just funny that, it's again, being persistent in anything you do and you will be successful. That's the bottom line. And Hollywood is the same way. You got to be persistent for 40 years. You can't take no and go cry in your room. When you tell me no, it motivates me. It inspires me. And no is my key word. People say no, I will show you no. And again, I lived in that house with all these Strasberg actors, college graduates, and they were all like supposed to be the next Brad Pitts, the next movie stars. Where are they now? Not one of them has succeeded. So their education was great, but their aggressive determination was never there. They never had the heart to get rejected every day.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Glenn. I think there, and we all struggle with this, and I'd be lying if I said I don't struggle with it because we all do. Not to take it personally, and like I've never said a bad word about anyone that I've worked with, I travel to, anybody else. There's a lot of things I could say because sometimes I was a little disappointed because I was taking it personally. They have a business to run. I have a business to run, and you can't take it personally. And it is impossible. One of the first things I teach a young front desk person is when you're checking into a hotel, you've been in the airport, maybe a good experience, maybe a bad experience. You're away from home. You maybe travel for 14 days. You maybe have to meet, be an actor and hit your mark tomorrow. You may have to do a speech. You may have to be in a boring meeting. When you're at the front desk, you want your key. Because we all know, we've all had that feeling when you go into a room, you close that door, you put the deadbolt on, and you fall apart. You're like, and you just fall apart. And at the front desk, you're in between them and getting in their room to relax. So don't take it personally. If they're, and same thing in life, you cannot take it personally. And the thing that I find fascinating about actors, I've been on the set with I did a movie with Leo Rossi. He helped me get my TV show. I've been on a movie set with him as he's acting, and he's standing there. This is after I've spent 9 years doing my own stuff, and I see him in front of the restaurant. What was the restaurant where Castellano got whacked? Sparks. So he's in front of Sparks. He's the guy who's going to put the last bullet in Castellano in this movie, and he's standing there, and the director says, "All right, we're going to go in a little while. All right, everybody in place." Now I'm across the street. And I'm watching this, and he's standing there for 45 minutes. Now, on my set, if my director says, stand there, I'll be back with you, and I'm standing 45 minutes, someone's getting the bolt, really getting the bolt in the head. So I go across the street, I see him sitting there, and I go, Leo, sit down, go over there, go relax. He goes, no, they may call action. I go, dude, you've been standing there for 45 minutes. He goes, director told me to stand here. Leo is in this, he's older than us. I won't say his age because he'll hit me if he's listening. And he's been an actor in 105 movies, and he knows everybody, and everybody knows him. And the director told him to stand there, so he's standing there. And when they said action, he was 100% ready. And I remember saying, that is insane to me. The man with all his experience, he did not complain. He did not sit down. He stood where he was told to stand, and he was prepared when they said action.
Yeah, that's the business, though. That really is the business in a nutshell. Hurry up, wait, and you're getting paid. So, if they tell you to stand there, you're standing there. That's the business. If they tell you you're going to be an extra for a day, you're going to be an extra for a day. That's your job. There's a lot of things you don't like doing when you go to your job, but you have to. And that's a sign of a good actor, who don't want to mess everyone up, who doesn't want people waiting for him. That, to me, is an honor. Like, when you're working with people like that, you really want to keep people like that around. Because I've written and directed and starred in a few films, and it's not easy. And if you're looking for an actor, I have to tell an actor 3 times when you're doing 100 things, you don't want to do that. And I give Leo a lot of credit because that's our business. Hurry up, wait. Sometimes I'll wait 2 hours on the set waiting for stuff, and nothing happens. And you go, okay, it's my job. You get annoyed, but the reality of it is they're paying you.
The first 2 seasons, I didn't have an assistant. And I would say, hey, can you grab my water or whatever to whoever was there? And I was always disappearing because they're like, because I know I've seen it. I was like, you know what? I'm not waiting there until he's ready. I'll be sitting over there. So they were always looking for me. So one day I go to the production company. I'm talking to my friend Bruce, who's the president. And he says, hey, we're getting you an assistant. I said, I don't want an assistant. I don't want another person I have to talk to. I don't like talking to people to begin with. He's like, no, you're getting an assistant. I go, I don't need an assistant. I don't want an assistant. Lo and behold, Maria shows up. She becomes my assistant, and she did everything for me. And the reason I had an assistant is because I kept on disappearing. Because I did not stand there. I forget. I'm an executive producer. It's my show. I created it. If you look for me for 2 minutes, look for me. I'm going to go sit and be comfortable. But Maria knew where I was all the time.
That's the key. They always put the tail on you. And when they say about a guy like you, troublemaker, give him a tail. Give him someone to watch him.
All right, so guys, listen. I got to talk about something else. And as much as this show is different than all other shows, it seems to be very similar in the fact that when we hit the live button, Louis, we usually think we're going to talk about one thing. Totally talked about different stuff, which has been awesome. Such great life advice. But we promised. What is it that you love about traveling and hotels? And what are some of the things that you love? And conversely, what are some of the things that really tick you off, Louis?
Man, I've lived in hotels the last 30 years, and I've been in hotels sometimes for 8 months, and honestly, what I do have to say about the hotel world that I do live in, like I've lived in Hawaii for 6 months in a hotel. I lived in Albuquerque in the Embassy Suites for 6 months. And then I've been in hotels for a month in a fancy hotel, and I go, wow, like, sometimes the littler hotels are way more accommodating and better to be at, than like the bigger ones. Like when I was in Albuquerque, I was there for 8 months in the Embassy Suites, and they made that hotel for me my home. The people, like, it was just some of the things that the conveniences of some of the things you can do Like I was telling Anthony, I was at the Best Western in where was I?
Sheepshead Bay.
Right. And I look at and again, don't judge a book by its cover vibe. They go, you're gonna stay at the Best Western in Brooklyn. I was like, okay, no, it must be okay. I got there at 1 a.m. and it looked like hell. I was like, where am I? What is this? I had no idea what Sheepshead Bay looked like in the
I laughed because I know what it looks like.
Oh, it's not. What he's referencing is not even the outside of the building because it's not a dump. It's a nice hotel. But it's that area is a very much a neighborhood.
Exactly. It looked like I was in the Bronx, like in a hotel. Right. I go to this little Best Western. Am I going to be here for weeks? And I was thinking, I go in. First of all, the biggest thing when, like Anthony was saying, you walk into a hotel, you want your key ready. You don't want to have to dilly-dally. You don't want to have to talk a million miles. You already traveled. You get into a hotel. You want to kind of get there. So that to me is the biggest problem. The Embassy Suites was like, here you go, you're done. It was like 3 months. I was like, wow, this is great. Now I go into my room. I'm like, this looks like a little bit of a dumpy hotel, right? It was nighttime. I go in the room. I'm like, wow, this is a really nice hotel. Nicer than some of the bigger hotels I stood in Chicago. Right. I was in a hotel a while ago, and it was horrible. Fancy 5-star. This was like last a couple months ago. And I was like, I thought this was supposed to be a great hotel. I wanted to leave in a minute. So when I got to the Best Western in Sheepshead Bay, I'm like, this little thing that wasn't supposed to be turned out to be one of my favorite stays. I kept telling the producer, I want to stay in the same room because when I travel and I'm gone for a while, I want familiarity. I don't want to keep going to a different room, go in a different path. I want to be like, hey, I was here. This is where I am. I'm comfortable here.
And when you're in a hotel like that, Louis, no mean to cut you off, but when you're in a hotel like that and you're in the neighborhood, you find places. You said something to me that I still laugh about. You find places across the street like Roller Roaster. Tell them your first experience about Roller Roaster. You said a line to me that I'll never forget.
First of all, tell us what it is.
Okay, well, tell them what Roller Roaster is.
Well, anyway, Roller Roaster's in Sheepshead Bay. I had no idea what Roller Roaster was. I heard about it from people. I'd never eaten there, right? So I check in my hotel, and I'm extremely happy that this little Best Western has this really nice room. It's like it was like a real nice hotel, any nicest room I've ever stood in. So it ended up being a joy working there. So I get there at 1 a.m. I'm like, I'm starving. I don't know where I am. Where am I in Brooklyn? You know, that complaining actor thing. I was like, where am I? This is ridiculous. I go around, I drive around, I make a U-turn. After 20 minutes, I go, Roll and Roaster. It was on the corner of my house. So I go, oh my God, this is great. So I end up going there and I started eating there. And it turns out I ended up eating there like 5 or 6 times out of the time I stood there. But the area when the daytime came was beautiful. I'm like,
let me back up before you go to the area.
Sandwiches,
I want to back it up. Roller Roaster is famous for their roast beef, their fries with cheese. It's a staple in Brooklyn. If you've lived in Brooklyn, you know Roller Roaster. People go from Kennedy Airport on a stopover to get their roast beef to go back to the airport. But you said to me, he goes, hey, what is this place? Because I met you at Roller Roaster. He goes, what is this place? I'm sitting in the corner the first night I'm here. And I'm like, I felt like I was in the witness protection program. Like it's my last meal. I'm going to the chair. It was like the best thing in the world. I spent an hour. It was like great
by myself.
And that's what's great about these off-path hotels or off the beaten path hotels. You find these staples because Roller Roaster literally is the foundation of that neighborhood.
Right. Well, you're right about that. When I was in Albuquerque, I found one of the best food barbecue places I've ever seen called Rudy's in Albuquerque. You know, and like I said, I'm learning this. A lot of the smaller hotels will try to accommodate more than the bigger ones to get their business. And I don't blame them. I feel so much more comfortable leaving when I was leaving that Best Western, I felt like it was my home. Like everyone was nice. It was easy to get in and out of. It was convenient. They couldn't do anything nicer. Well, the one in Albuquerque, the Embassy Suites, was great. I mean, the breakfast, you go downstairs and you could sit around and they had
made to order omelets. How awesome is that?
Right. I love the Embassy Suites. It was like, okay. And then they had the happy hour later.
Yeah, you're back in time for the managers.
Right. The manager. But I'm saying, even if it's not the best meal or the biggest thing, what it does is it brings you back to a comfortability. Like, oh, okay, I can go sit in the lobby in this hotel and have a wine. And I don't have to spend $90. And I can have a little bit of an appetizer before I go eat dinner. So it kind of brings back a comfortableness with those little perks. You may think not, but when you're in a hotel for 6 months at a time, those little perks matter. to a traveler constantly. Again, it's consistently having something to look forward to. You know, but you go to these bigger hotels. I was in Chicago. I'm not going to mention a hotel, but I was looking on a 5-star hotel. This is beautiful. I showed up. The elevator didn't work. The rugs looked like they killed 19 people and they just drained the blood with a fucking box of Clorox. And I'm like, this is a 5-star hotel in the middle of downtown Chicago? I'm like, horrible. I didn't want to stay there. The room was the size of my iPad. And I was just like, this. I would have been so much happier at a Best Western where they bend over for you. When I went to the front desk, they were like, oh, you got to ask for towels. I go, I'm in a 5-star hotel. I'm in a big hotel. What's ask for towels? It was the worst experience I had, and it was supposed to be the biggest. And when I went to the Best Western or even the Embassy Suites, the littler ones couldn't accommodate you anymore, and that's when you feel home. And as I travel, I'm telling you, I'm in hotels for a living. You know, you guys run them and work them, but I live in them. You know, and I've learned some of the littler things are way more important than being in a fancy address or a fancy neighborhood. Really?
Let me ask you a question. As a traveler, I'm going to ask you a couple of things that are very relevant in today's hotel business because to save money, because of COVID, all kinds of things. The 3 things you're going to see more and more of is you're going to see you're not going to see daily room service for housekeeping.
I like that because I don't get my room cleaned, Aunt. I never do. I get
all right.
Yeah, I don't want people in my room.
Well, then you're going to be happy.
Okay, so you're going to be happy. Number 2, mini bars. Do you like that the refrigerator's empty, or do you want to see mini bars?
I want it empty. I don't want the mini bar because I want.
How about this, Louis?
I
was at Resorts World last week at the Croxfords. Thank you, Shannon McCallum. They had the mini bar with stuff in it and a fridge that was empty. How cool is that?
That's great. You know why? Because that gives the customer an option.
There you go.
You don't want to force someone who's going there to spend $9 a soda. It's just ridiculous.
Right. But if you have a refrigerator, and Shannon, I love you. She just took over the Croxford. The refrigerator wasn't big enough to put our fruit plate that you gave us in, so you need a little smaller plate. But anyway,
I can't
so that's good.
That's a real pretentious thing. My fruit plate didn't have room in my suite. So I had to get mad at
so daily housekeeping.
Keep my papaya cold.
Yeah. I may keep my face.
You're the one who said it to me, Glenn.
Glenn, how am I keeping my facial equipment clean? My mask stuff cold.
So daily housekeeping isn't important to you.
No, not at all.
But I'm going to ask you the third thing.
Yep.
Room service, 24-hour room service. Important or not important?
I don't know. I don't think. I mean, it's important to a degree if you really don't want to leave your room. I'm an explorer. When I go to a city, I want to explore. I want to go to places. I want to try the Rolling Roasters. I want to try other places. You know, I don't want to be. If you have to have room service, yeah, to me it's not a necessity. But you know, it really isn't to me. The little refrigerator is an absolute necessity. You know, if you travel, and I bring 3 gallons of water with me to every room. I need my water. You know, sometimes you don't want to wake up in the morning and rush downstairs for a piece of fruit or every little thing. You know, when you're living, if it's a day or 2, 3 days, okay, who cares? But when I'm there weeks and months at a time, I want that refrigerator. I want to be able to put stuff that when I wake up in the morning, I'm not rushing to the lobby. I don't want to feel like I'm always in a rush. So I go to a grocery store every time I'm in a hotel. If I'm there longer than a week or a few days, like 4 days, I'll go buy stuff. I'll buy fruit. I'll buy my waters. I'll buy my snacks. And I want stuff convenient for me there. I don't want to go look for a lobby. I don't want to have to wait 2 hours for a room service. I love the refrigerators. I would do that without a mini bar. And again, in today's economy, a lot of people can't afford $5 sodas, right or wrong.
What's the one thing you've seen in the hotel room that you incorporated into your home or your apartment? Like, is there anything you saw in the hotel and you're like, wow, I need that? That's kind of cool.
The waffle machine in the Best Western. Almost stole it. Wow, this is nice. Put it in the packet. Leo, you got my back.
An Italian in Brooklyn in the Best Western stealing the waffle machine. That's what you're supposed to do.
They call that Tuesday. Yeah.
But hotels I find to be my second home. Like I said, when I lived in Hawaii, I was in a hotel for 8 months. You know, in Albuquerque, I did a movie called The Spirit with Frank Miller. I was there for 8 months.
Right.
Oh, so you're in these long-term relationships with these hotels, and the littler things important way more important, believe it or not. You know, the smaller things. The bigger things are the shiny things on the car that break down, you know? But the little things are consistent. The breakfast, the little refrigerators, you know, and again, I don't like them in my room, cleaning my room every day. People go, why is the maid not? I don't want the maid in my room. I want
housekeeper, Louis. You're old. Housekeeper, not maid. Housekeeper.
The housekeeper. I don't like the housekeeper through my room. I don't want my bed made every day. What am I doing in my bed? What am I shitting in my bed that I need my bed made every day?
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Is there anything that comes to mind, the most favorite thing that's ever happened in a hotel room that you can share with, the audience?
That didn't happen with another person.
Yeah, the best thing, you're in this beautiful hotel, whatever hotel, and you're like, wow, this was great. And what's the worst experience you ever had in a hotel?
Oh, I was in another hotel in Chicago years ago, right? Where they invited me to come to the hotel. I was doing an event in Chicago, and I get to the hotel, and the whole bathtub is like this massive bathtub full of rose petals and candles. They set the whole bathroom up. I'm like, no one asked for it. It was something they did because I was an invited guest for a show. So it was kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? That was like going out of your way and doing stuff like that. And when I was in Albuquerque doing a show, I bought some art for a children's foundation, right? And I was like traveling. I was like in Albuquerque. And I bought this rocking horse, which we still have to this day. It was made by a famous artist in Santa Fe. Yeah. And I was like, I bid on it and I won. And I was like, holy crap, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to get this thing home? I'm flying around the fucking world. It was a rocking horse, big. The hotel manager.
On the airport, on the airplane.
Right, with the big rocking horse. It was the size of me, which is big. And I go, holy shit, what am I going to do with this? I won this. The hotel manager, this is when you know you're home. This is when you know you're home. The hotel manager goes, I got you, Louis. I go, okay. I bid on it. Am I just give it away? He goes, no. Because my daughter at the time was a baby. He goes, watch what I do. I come back the next day from the set. He had it crated up and he shipped it for free for me.
Wow.
Crated up, dude. Like you were doing like a crate, not a shipping.
Right.
And I looked at him. I was like, he's like, yeah, your family here. And that's when I realized, like, these people go out of their way. Every time I come in, they're bringing me like hot cookies and not just me. They were doing it with other guests, but they liked me because I would sit and I would talk with them for hours. And I was there so long, but they were doing it for other guests. And I saw the other guest reaction was, wow, I got hot cookies. You might go, oh, all right, the fucking cookie. But if you're a guest and you feel like you got a little something extra, it makes you happy.
Absolutely.
Satisfied. But when you're in a hotel like the one I was in a couple of months ago and the elevator wasn't working and the guy wouldn't give you towels and no one would come to the front desk when you were ringing the bell. There's a 5-star hotel in Chicago. It looked like The Shining. I was like, never again.
Red round.
Yeah, it was just filthy dirty, but the little ones kind of accommodate. Maybe they want your business more. You guys know more. But to me, these hotels become my home for long periods of time. So the little things, the little refrigerators, no one making your bed every day, no one following you around, not a million things. The free breakfast, the free hour, and you go with that hour. You go, oh, you get the manager special. It's not the manager special. It's not the free. It's what happens is people start to come to the hotel, and you get to commiserate. You get to talk with people. You get to you get to kind of bond. You sit down the line.
Create community.
So Louis, we got to wrap up in a second, but before we do, I want to mention something. Glenn, is it okay? Just 1 minute.
Yes, I just wanted to say this really important stuff here, Anthony. The whole thing with the crates, I feel like anytime a crate is in a movie, someone's up to no good and nothing good is going to come of it, right? You open the crate, the rocking horse comes out and kills you.
You keep talking shit when you'll be in a crate.
Put him in the bathroom. Put him in the bathroom. So wait a second. So
I'm feeling hungry, Anthony.
I got a question. Because you're not only an actor, you're a writer, producer, all that stuff, but you're also an entrepreneur, and you love food more than you love acting. You love cooking. You love being with your daughter. And you gave me an idea, which I think is brilliant, and we've got to shop it around the hotel business. Where you want to tell your idea, because we got to get you on again to talk about it, and we've got to get you to all the people that we know to talk about, because I think it's great for, especially like a Best Western or like a True Brand, like people that really kind of really need self-help. So go ahead.
I think it's the ultimate inconvenience. What I want to do is put this pizza concept in these lobbies of these hotels. And it's kind of quick, fast pizza that's already ready to go.
It's a vending machine that makes its own pizza.
Yes, you get these vending machines, and I want to put them in these chains hotels where, people are running in and out. They don't want to wait 40 minutes for room service. If I can go down to the lobby and get a 3-minute pizza and it's absolutely delicious, I'm not talking about putting garbage. I'm talking about my mentality for food is always home run. So when I talk about food and people go, oh, it has to be good. No shit, dude. Everything you do has to be good. So this concept is to have a simple, quick alternative in hotels where people don't want to go to the thing or they don't want to walk down the block.
And these machines exist.
Oh, they exist and they do well and they make them great. Some of them are from Italy. So there's several different concepts. So I've explained to Anthony, the whole building a restaurant in a fancy hotel, they must die a lot, I said to him, because today's environment, everything's, you go to a hotel, it's so expensive to eat in, no one can really go. COVID's destroyed most of the model of hotels and stuff. So I don't. What's the best fast food in the world is pizza. How do you get it to them as fast as possible?
Wait, I'm confused. I thought it was the roll and roaster roast beef. You guys are getting.
That takes a little bit. Takes a little bit. But the pizza.
It's the not so fast food restaurant is their tagline.
Right? Is it really? I love it though. I go back there. But the pizza concept is simple, quick, inexpensive, and you can get people on the go. I don't care if they're waiting for their Uber. You can order a pizza and take it with you. You know what I'm saying? You could take, and that's the concept I want to create. Simple, inexpensive, but absolutely great. Create a great product and bring it to the consumer as simple as you can. And again, most people in hotels are on the run. They want a snack late night. The room service, like Anthony said, are not available in a lot of the hotels after 11. Would I be right, Anthony? A lot of hotels,
11 o'clock. And a lot of hotels don't even have room service anymore.
Right. A lot of people don't have rooms because how much does it cost to run the kitchen? So if you have these little pizza kiosks in these hotels, right? You can go at 2 a.m, go down, or coming back from a bar, or coming back from a late night work, or just in general, you don't want to go calling Domino's or whatever. You'll get a better product for half the price at a vending machine in these hotels. The concept is brilliant. It's really a revolutionary.
So after the new year, because everybody's shutting down already, after the new year, we've got to really get you in meetings because I think it's a great idea. Glenn, what do you think, being a hotel guy?
I think I really want pizza, and a lot of the companies are trying to figure out new ways to engage their guests in that sort of way. And you've already have personnel that can be retrained, do multitask, and you already have, in a lot of cases, frozen pizzas in a freezer right there for people to put in a microwave or something like that. To have it done the right way very quickly would make me really happy as a guest.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, and I'm actually working on my frozen pizza line right now. It's called Ava Lou's Italian Pizza Company.
Cool.
It's me and my daughter. Oh, we're already going to be on QVC. We got massive amounts. Yeah, so, and there's a frozen pizza industry. It's massive. It's blowing up. It's already increasing $500 million per year for the next 6 years. It'll be $11 billion. Ooh. Yeah, the people love it because the higher quality companies, right, are going more basically with frozen pizzas. A lot of the higher end pizzas are selling more. So it's kind of cool. It's in the times of what's happening now. Pizza's the number one. I mean, it's billions and billions a year in pizza. It's like $30-40 billion a year industry. And if you make a good product, people will come back. These machines are going to be part of my extension of my Ava Lou's brand. I'm brought up by all Italian women in the Bronx. All I did was cook my whole life. And I have this special way of making these pizzas where once you put them in these special ovens, you won't know they're frozen. You know why? Because I tested them on the biggest New York pizza people. I took frozen pizzas, I put them in my oven, I made them, and I cooked them. They're like, where'd you get these? They're frozen. I made them. No one believed me. It's about the process of making the product. You reheat it in the right process, it becomes great like you bought in any restaurant. So that's the concept I want to bring to the hotels. I was telling Anthony, I think it'd be amazing. Simple, easy, cheap, and you have the best food, the best kind of, best food in America, pizza, at the fingertips of each hotel door, without leaving the hotel, not going down the block, without looking through the menu. What's the best pizza around the neighborhood? Most of the times they're garbage,
Please, I know this pain. And everyone in our audience knows the pain of bad pizza. We're going to solve that problem. But unfortunately, Louis, we can't do it today.
Okay.
Because we're already over time and we've got to wrap it. We're going to get you back again and we're going to talk about pizza.
I'm going to see your new best friend, Vinny, at Rocco's. He wants me to do a video for him, so I'm going to shoot a video.
Oh, he does it. He hits me up all the time. Hey, Louis, tag. When are you coming in? I love those guys. Rocco's in Rockaway Beach. Anthony took me there. I'm sorry to cut you off, Glenn. I've got to throw him out a shout out. His food was great. He's a great place to go to. They're family kind of oriented. They sit down with you. I'm sorry I took over, but Rocco's of Rockaway Beach, Ant was great. Thank you for introducing me. Yeah.
Yes. And stay tuned because early in 2022, we'll get Louis back here. We're going to do a special 4-hour edition of the show because I'm going to ask him what he thinks of pineapple on pizza.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. We're going to get an extended show.
Anthony, he's from Long Island. How do you even have him as your partner, bro?
Listen, he uses a fork and a knife to cut pizza, Louis.
I do not do
How
that.
you drag a Long Island guy into
Only in Chicago when I'm eating their deep dish fake stuff because not pizza.
Let's put it this way. Look, that is from Long Island. He goes to the Chinese restaurant on Christmas Eve.
Okay.
I'm a good Jew. Jesus.
Glenn, you almost look like Rick Moranis a little bit, a young Rick Moranis.
Thank you for adding the young part. I don't know about the Rick Moranis part. I'll work on that with
Did you ever get that, Lou? Did you ever get that, Glenn?
No, usually I just get George Clooney and Brad Pitt. So this is new to me.
No, I get Brad Pitt, bro.
All right, we got to wrap. I love you both.
All right. Louis, great to see you, man.
Good seeing you. Bye, Glenn.
So much. All right,
you, Louis. I'll call you later.
All right, you'll call you later. Listen, guys, I know you're going to want to re-listen to this one over and over again. So why not do it on the audio version? Find it on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, all the places that you go. You know where it is. Wherever you go, you can subscribe to No Vacancy Live with that. He's Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. We've got to get out of here because he's got to go do a shoot. So remember, just like Louis is doing, you got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See y'all tomorrow.
Don't you love Louis?